Fox 61 News at 10 starts now.
Right now at 10, the family of an East Haven man is suing Yale New Haven Hospital after he died while in their care. We'll hear from them and now how the hospital's responding tonight.
And one Connecticut town is having difficult but necessary conversations after a high school football player, while fundraising with his team, was called a racial slur.
And a Fox 61 exclusive tonight as workers from one restaurant in our state say they haven't been paid for weeks. Find out what they want to happen now that the restaurant shut down.
We begin at 10 on the Weather Watch. The last lingering rain showers are leaving the state tonight. We have a live look at the radar there. It was certainly quite an eventful, wet evening for many parts of the state. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sarah Sanchez.
And I'm Ben Goldman. The rain over the last 2 days has been needed all over the state, but especially in eastern Connecticut, while many parts are now in an extreme drought. Want to get a first check of the forecast tonight with Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank. Hi, Rachel.
It was all or nothing out there today. Some areas ended up getting a month's worth of rain in a matter of hours, and others stayed completely dry. And we still do have a few leftover showers and rumbles of thunder out there. But first, I want to show you this incredible video of a water spout. This was taken on the Cross Island Ferry, not your typical view here over Long Island Sound. And the person who took the video said that they wanted to give credit to the crew who was on that vessel, keeping them safe. Here's a look at where it was located. This is Old Saybrook. This is Orient Point, just to give you your bearings here. And no one was injured, but it was a wild day nonetheless. Heavy rainfall, hail. This is from Jim in Beacon Falls and from Emily in Waterbury. There was a lot of flooding in the Waterbury area. Yes, we need rainfall. We are in a drought, but we had way too much over a short period of time. It's the classic case of be careful what you wish for. This is the grand finale, though, the last gasp moving through right now with some steady rainfall from Hartford all the way up through Enfield. And that's going to continue to work its way east, so moving into Tolland and eventually into Windham County before likely falling apart. And that's going to be it. We are going to get back to what we're used to this summer. Warm and dry conditions as we head through the day tomorrow. High temperatures climbing into the 80s to around 90 degrees. Humid out there, but not oppressive. Another chance for storms later this week. Your full forecast coming up.
Thank you, Rachel. In a Fox 61 follow-up, Enfield holds a conversation for healing tonight. A high school football player was called a racial slur, and now people in the town are coming together to discuss race, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Fox 61's Gabby Molina went to that meeting in Enfield. She joins us live. So, Gabby, what were the important messages they shared tonight?
Well, Sarah, that meeting tonight lasted about 2 hours, and it was really a chance for people in this community to learn from one another, to listen to one another, taking this incident and what happened as an opportunity for Enfield to grow and become a better community.
It killed me as an educator to know that a student would be treated with such disrespect.
A tough but necessary conversation at Enfield High School Tuesday night, forcing people to ask themselves,
what is our responsibility? What is all of our responsibility when something like this happens?
The community coming together to talk about race, diversity, equity, and inclusion after a high school football player was called a racial slur while out in the neighborhood fundraising for his team.
He's a 14-year-old kid. For him, it's kind of like, you know, why are people like this? It's like, this is so stupid. It doesn't need to be this way. So I'm just trying to make a difference for him.
The student's mother, among those taking part in the conversation, aimed at working towards a more inclusive community, one in which her children wouldn't have to face racism.
I want change made. I want people to be more respectful and understand that we are all different people and just be a better town.
Officials say this incident is not reflective of the town as a whole, but that action needs to be taken in order to see progress.
We have 23% of the Enfield population are people of color as of the last census. We have to make sure that as the complexion of a community changes, so do the attitudes and the mores of what that means in order to have a very functioning, supported community.
The police department is also part of the conversation, explaining that while an investigation did confirm a racial slur was used, no criminal charges could be filed.
The use of the racial slur, as offensive, as troubling, as abhorrent as that behavior is, unto itself does not violate the criminal law.
But this is not the end of the discussion.
The work is going to be the folks in Enfield figuring out how not to say you're wrong, you're right. This can't. I'm like, no, it's wrong. You do what happened can't happen. But now, how do we as a community move forward?
Before this incident happened, the town already had plans for a year-long discussion on race, diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's still going to be happening, but the town just wanted to make sure that they gave the community a chance to come together to have this conversation before the school year started. Live in Enfield, Gabby Molina, Fox 61 News.
Thank you, Gabby. Well, new at 10, the family of an East Haven man is suing Yale New Haven Hospital after he died while in their care.
Fox 61's Alicia Machado spoke to the family tonight. She joins us live from New Haven with what they had to say and how the hospital's responding. Alicia.
Well, Ben and Sarah, the family claims that the patient was left unattended for hours in an ambulance bay and was later found brain dead. The family wants to raise awareness about what happened to them to make sure that no family ever experiences this kind of pain. More than a year later, questions still remain surrounding the death of 23-year-old William Miller from East Haven while in the care of Yale New Haven Hospital. Billy, as the family calls him, was left unattended for 7 hours, according to his mother and sister.
He was in cardiac arrest. Why? How is this possible?
Billy's family filed a lawsuit against Yale New Haven Hospital this month, seeking damages for his death.
He had his whole life ahead of him, and that was taken from him. He did not have tomorrow.
He'd be here today if he was monitored and they saw that the fentanyl was taking over his body again.
On May 10th, 2021, emergency responders administered naloxone to Billy after he ingested a white substance that he suspected was laced with fentanyl at a gathering, according to the complaint filed with New Haven Superior Court. Body cam footage shared with Fox 61 by the attorney shows Billy walking and talking with the MS after the naloxone treated the overdose. He was taken to the hospital. The lawsuit claims he was brought in just after 7 p.m. and wasn't checked up on until just before 2 a.m. when a staff member found him without a pulse.
This is a case of medical abandonment. So it's a case where somebody shows up in the emergency room with a very treatable condition. They are never given a doctor. They're never actually even given a nurse. Receive no treatment whatsoever. We want to know why and how. How does this happen at a level 1 trauma center? How does this happen at a place like Yale New Haven Hospital?
In a statement to Fox 61 News, Yale New Haven Health's PR director said they are aware of the lawsuit and, quote, even in the best organizations, gaps in care may occur. When they do, our goal is to acknowledge them, learn from them, and ensure that we minimize any chance that they ever occur again. Adding, quote, we have offered our sincere apologies to the family of the patient and are working toward a resolution. The family is pushing for change and encouraging others to make sure their loved ones receive medical attention.
They must advocate for themselves if they're in the hospital and must just stay vigilant. They should never feel guilty that they're bothering healthcare workers when they're calling for updates.
Alicia, obviously a nightmare situation for any family going through this. What specifically does this family tell you that they recommend for other families dealing with a loved one in a situation like this?
Yeah, Billy's mother and sister are encouraging other families to call and check in on their family members when all this happened to them. Their loved one was inside this hospital during COVID, so restrictions are different then than they are now. But she's encouraging people to ask questions like how severe is my loved one when they're inside the hospital, and call every so often for updates, maybe every couple hours or so if you can't be there in person. Tonight, we're live in New Haven. Alicia Machado, Fox 61 News.
A tough story on so many levels, Alicia. Thank you. Meanwhile, new at 10 o'clock tonight, police arresting a Hartford man wanted in 4 towns for stealing from vehicles and taking catalytic converters from those vehicles. Manchester police accusing 22-year-old Tajay Hunter of burglaries over the last 5 months now. Investigators say some of the items stolen include 2 guns, 4 catalytic converters, and a Chromebook laptop. He's facing more than a dozen charges in Manchester. He's being held there on a $500,000 bond. Hunter also has arrest warrants for similar crimes in East Hartford, Glastonbury, and Rocky Hill.
Tonight, a Waterbury man is in jail after turning himself into police. He's accused of murdering a man outside a restaurant last week. Waterbury police accused Joseph Whitaker of shooting and killing Lashard Santos. The shooting happened overnight Thursday outside the Birdie's West Indian restaurant on North Main Street. Santos died at the hospital. Whitaker is being held on $2 million bond.
Tonight, several teachers and a former administrator in Plymouth are facing accusations of failing to report sexual abuse of students. James Eschert, who's a former teacher at Plymouth Center School, faces several charges, including fourth-degree sexual assault. Tonight, Fox 61 has a letter sent to families saying that arrest warrants have been issued for 3 other school employees and 1 former administrator. The letter says that those employees failed to report the allegations of abuse by Eschert. He was arrested back in January. He's pleaded not guilty.
Well, tonight, police are investigating after a woman's death. She was hit and killed by a car while walking in Wallingford. This happened on Old Colony Road just before 9 last night. Police say a driver was going south on a poorly lit section of the road before hitting the woman. She was taken to the hospital where she later died. Her name hasn't yet been released, but she was between the ages of 45 and 55. The driver is cooperating with police. Officers don't believe speed or alcohol were factors in the crash.
Tonight, Connecticut's first black woman to serve as the U.S. Attorney for our state's district celebrates her brand new role. Vanessa Avery took an oath of office today at Hill Regional Career High School in New Haven, where she graduated from 30 years ago. Avery used to work in the Connecticut Attorney General's office as an Associate Attorney General for enforcement litigation and investigations.
Today's celebration is for all of us, for me, for law enforcement, for the community. My selection as the United States Attorney says as much about you and who we are as a nation as it does about me and any of the qualifications that may have been spoken of.
Avery officially took over as Connecticut's 54th U.S. Attorney back in May, shortly after the Senate confirmed her nomination by President Joe Biden.